Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Rosma Nofi Damayanti, and today I would like to presentation my thesis. The title of my thesis is EFL Students Motivation in English Speaking Class During COVID-19 Pandemic. There are 5 chapters in this study. The first chapter is Introduction. Introduction, there is a research background. Many students studying English as a foreign language or as a second language prioritize speaking in their acquisition of language skill. It means speaking is one of the important priorities to master the language being studied. This is in line with Noonan in 1995 that said the success of learning a language can be measured by person's ability to have a conversation using the language, and make speaking is the most important aspect in learning a foreign language or second language. Therefore, speaking is an important and inspirable aspect of language learning. Davis and Peer in 2000 state that the purpose of teaching English is to give students the ability to communicate using English effectively and correctly. However, there are still many foreign language learners who haven't mastered the ability to speak English well and effectively, including in Indonesia. The position of English in Indonesia itself as a foreign language, it means English is not the mother tongue of students, Indonesian students or Indonesian people. Many factors cause them not to master the English speaking, given the current situation in COVID-19 pandemic, where the learning process is carried out by online learning or distance learning. This can affect the students' motivation in learning to speak English. This pandemic condition for students to study at home without meeting their friends or their teachers, and it can make students feel tired or bored, which can affect their interest in online learning. One of the theories of motivation is from Gardner's theory. In Gardner's theory has focused on the two constructs, that is integrative motivation and instrumental motivation. When speaking, the difficulties faced by students can affect their motivation in learning English. There are several aspects in speaking where this becomes the students' difficulties in speaking English. According to Brown in 2001, Brown categorized aspects of speaking into 4 types, namely vocabulary, fluency, grammar, and pronunciation. Tambunan and Schrager in 2016 showed that instrumental motivation has a greater influence on students than integrative motivation. 3 interrelated instrumental motivation when students learn English include future studies, grades, and careers. Fatima Shell and Chopin in 2019, they conducted the study about the correlation between students' motivation and their speaking achievement, and the study showed that there is a significant correlation between students' motivation and their speaking achievement. And then the students are instrumentally motivated higher than integratively. The next previous study from Maulana et al. In 2016 shared limited vocabulary, difficulty in pronunciation, fear of making mistake, and lack of confidence are problems that are often faced by students in learning speaking. Through previous studies, the purpose of my study is to analyze the students' motivation EFL in English speaking class during COVID-19 pandemic, and also to analyze the difficulties of English speaking that will affect students' motivation. The next is research question. There are 2 research questions in this study. The first is, what motivation does encourage students to learn in English speaking class during COVID-19 pandemic? And then the second research question is, what are difficulties which affect students' motivation in speaking class during COVID-19 pandemic? And the next chapter is literature review. There are two sub in literature review. The first is speaking. According to Jainuddin et al. In 2017, defined that speaking is the process of communication to express, inform, and give the idea, knowledge, feeling, thought, opinion, express, and experience by using of sounds of articulation that can be learned through teaching and learning process. According to Brown and Yule 2008, speaking has three functions. That is speaking as transaction, as performance, and as interaction. Each of these functions has different focus. For first, speaking as interaction focus on how the speaker to present themselves. Usually, they will interact with each other by chatting, greeting each other, or telling their experience. And then second, speaking as a performance that focus on talking in the crowd. Usually, this takes the form of speech and public announcements, which tend to be monologues. And the third, speaking as interaction that focus on the situation to make others understand the message to be conveyed. And according to Brown, as quoted in Hasbawati in 2018, divided speaking into two types, namely monologue and dialogue. For monologue is one of the type of speaking that usually done in lecture, speeches, and new broadcasts. Dialogue is speaking that involves two or more speakers. Thus, speaking is the process of giving information by mode, either information in form of knowledge, feelings, or opinions. In the learning of speaking that has been done in school, it's hoped that the students can master of all of the function of speaking. The next is motivation. According to Dorney, the next is motivation. According to Dorney in 2001, motivation are things that can make us to do something and can the reason how much effort a person puts into pursuing something, how long someone will maintain their activity, and because of what that person decide to do something. Jero Propi described that the motivation as the desire of students to carry out learning activities, and they will try to benefit from these activities. In other words, students can carry out learning activities because of the involvement of the motivation in them. According to Shamsuddin in 2007, there are several indicators to measure student motivation, such as duration of activities, frequency of activities, persistence, fortitude, tendency, and ability to face difficulties or problem, devotion, level of achievement, qualification, and level of aspiration. And the next is types of motivation. There are several types of motivation. One of the types is from the Gardner's theory. In Gardner's theory, has a focus on two constructs, namely integrative and instrumental motivation. Gardner and McClintory said that the orientation about instrumental motivation is related to career or academic, and for integrative, it's related to social or culture. Thus, the things that become the result for anyone, including students, to do, pursue, even to maintain an activity they want to do, are called motivation. Through this motivation, the students can have great. And the next chapter is chapter 3 about research methodology. Research design. In this study, this research using case study design. Simon in 2009 said that case study is an in-depth exploration from multiple perspectives of the complexity and uniqueness of a particular project. Thus, the researcher choose to use this case study because in this study will focus on EFL students' motivation in English speaking class during COVID-19 pandemic. and to analyze what difficulties students experience that influence their motivation in English speaking. And the next is child and participant. This study was conducted at senior high school, especially at SMA Jesuit Abadi in Bekasi, Indonesia. And the participants in the study are the 12th grade students and consist ex students. For the data collection in this study, the researcher using observation, focus group discussion, and documentation. And the next is instrumentation. In instrumentation, the researcher using FGD, and FGD consists of 13 open-ended questions given the researcher to the participant and consists from 13 open-ended questions consists 11 questions based on Ratanawale Wimolma's previous research in Hong and Ganapti in 2017, adopted from the attitude or motivation Gardner battery test or AMI. Then one question is based on indicators from Richard in 2008, and one question based on indicators from Shamsuddin in 2007. And the next is research procedure. The researcher made observation first on online speaking learning activities because the activities of English learning is online in this current pandemic situation. The second is during the learning process, the researcher selected students to become the participant in FGD session. The next is the researcher prepare for the implementation of FGD session. The researcher familiarize the students with the topic and some technical terms that can be used in the session. The next is about the data analysis. In this study, the researcher using data analysis based on thematic analysis by Brown and Clark in 2006. The first is familiarizing the data. The second is code, generating initial codes. The third, find the terms. The fourth, review the terms. The fifth, define the term. And the last is create a report. And the next is chapter 4. This chapter 4 is about findings and discussion. For the findings, there are 2 points. The first is EFL students' motivation in English speaking. The first one is about the background of students. This part indicates to the general demographic data of participants. And then the second is students' motivation. In students' motivation, there are 2 points. The first is general question. For the general question, there are 6 responses that include instrumental motivation. The majority of the regions that they learn English because they learn English for work in order to get a better job in the future, and they want to get a better position, to get better job for their dream in the future. And the next is a specific question related to types of instrumental and integrative motivation. In specific question or SQ, there are 10 SQ. The first SQ is about instrumental. The researcher indicates there are 7 responses given by the participant that being able or proficient in English can help them to achieve success in the future. In the field of work and companies, English can provide a great opportunity to get a higher position. And for the SQ2, it is about integrative. There are 7 participants who gave positive responses when asked about being proficient in English can make someone open-minded and easy to get along with like a native speaker. And some participants, there are 7 participant responses that being proficient in English will make it for them will make it easier for them to communicate with others and easier to get along with other people and thinking critically. And the next is SQ3. It is about instrumental. All participants agreed that learning English would make them to be knowledgeable and skilled. And the next is SQ4. It is about integrative motivation. Many participants also made it possible for them to appreciate English art, literature, if they learn the language, except for one response that didn't agree. And the next is SQ5. This is about instrumental. There are 5 responses from participants who disagree. If someone learns English, it will make other people respect them more. They argue that there are still people who don't respect them when they speak English because the people say that English is still rarely used in Indonesia. And the next is SQ6. It is about integrative. All participant responses belong to the category integrative motivation. The majority of participants think that learning English will make it easier for them to communicate with other people from abroad. And the activities that they allow them to appreciate to participate in such as English club, international webinars, and exchanging culture with other countries. And the next is SQ7, instrumental. Based this question, the researcher asks about if they learn English, it will give them a better job in the future. This can be indicated from the response given by the participant. The majority says that when they master English skill, they could get a higher position, including a higher position at their work. In addition, they said that many jobs at this time require English skills and are important to have. So, because it will be an added value for them. And for SQ8, integrative motivation. Based in this question, there are 7 responses agreed when the researcher asked whether someone learns English so that he or she can understand English films, English movies, English songs, English novels, and others. The majority of participants also said when they learn English, so they could understand the meaning of English songs and movies without subtitles. And the next is SQ9. It is about instrumental. Based on this question, all participants give positive responses. The majority of participants also learn English through another way, such as talking with partners and through YouTube. And some of them choose to talking with their father, their friends, and their cousins. And the next is SQ10. It is about integrative. Based on this question, the researcher asked whether someone learns English for his or her own interest and is determined to achieve that profession to the fullest. The response given by the participant was only one participant who was included in the integrative category. The majority of participants said they learn English because of their job. And the next finding is about students' difficulties in English speaking. There are 4 responses of participants who have difficulty in how to pronounce certain words. There are 3 responses of participants who have difficulty in grammar. And then there are 2 responses of participants who have good vocabulary, not many. It is about the difficulty in vocabulary. And the next is about the students' efforts when they had difficulty participating in speaking English in class. There were 4 participant responses from a total of 8 participants who thought that they would ask a friend or teacher, ask a friend first, and then the teacher if their friends couldn't help. Meanwhile, 2 responses said they would remain silent to try their best first, and the other 2 responses to directly ask the teacher. And the next is discussion. For discussion, there are two findings. There are two discussion. The first is EFL student motivation in English speaking. Through participant responses, the study found that participants are motivated more instrumentally than integratively. The researcher found there were 34 responses that gave positive instrumental responses and 30 positive responses that were integrative. They said that many jobs such as in companies require English skills. This can be verified from the high responses from SQ3, SQ7, and SQ9, where all participants gave a positive response to the question. And then, based on the response of the instrumentally motivated participants, the reason they learn English are related to their job, career, education, and for their future success. Many students say to get a higher position include higher position in work can be supported by proficient English, especially if the field of work in collaboration with another countries. The findings also supported by study by Wong in 2011. The study was conducted on third-year Chinese students, showed that students have a higher type of instrumental motivation than integrative motivation. Generally, they are motivated because to get a better job in the future, pass exams, to achieve success and achievement in the future. In addition, there are several students added that usually to accept prospective workers graduated from universities are taken into consideration. However, many universities at this time require English for university entrance exams. This is related with Gardner and McClintory in 1993. They said instrumental related to career or academics. On the other hand, there are other participants who are integratively motivated, but they are still a minority in the study. The researcher found that the reason they learned English were related to friendship with foreign friends, interest in history of countries, culture, art, and English literature. Um, and this is in line with Gardner in 2001, state that integrative motivation emphasizes the interest and desire of the individuals in learning a language and seeks to make it part of their behavior that makes them blend in the culture community of the language. Hanyik et al. In 2018 show that there are several things that related to integrative motivation based on the integrative and instrumental orientation skills of Gardner's attitude or motivation test battery. That is related to real interest to join together with the target language, literature, community, culture, and the target language way of life, like a native speaker. And the next is student difficulties in English speaking. Pronunciation was the most experienced by the participant in this study, according to Hatrakel in 1995, and Barker and Bury. Pronunciation is a problem or difficulty that is often experienced by students. Some of them think their pronunciation is difficult to do because they don't know proper how to proper about the correct pronunciation. And then, in addition, some participants also had difficulties in grammar. This is according to Sachs and Wilkinson in 2010. Students who learns English generally experience grammar difficulties in the use of preposition, past tense, articles, and preposition in the third person singular. This is aligned with the researcher findings from participant two's answer to question 1 that the participant had difficulty in determining verb 1 and verb 2. Some participants also had difficulties in vocabulary. It can be verified from response in Q1. This is in line with Sajadi et al. The lack of appropriate vocabulary mastery made it difficult for students to express themselves well. Furthermore, when students experience their difficulties during English speaking, the majority of them will ask their friends or teachers. This can be verified on response of participant 3 and participant 6 in Q2. And the next is chapter 5. It is about the conclusion. The purpose of the study is to analyze the EFL students' motivation in English speaking class during COVID-19 pandemic, and to analyze the difficulties that influence the students' motivation in English speaking class. The data were collected through observation, focus group discussion, and documentation. And then to analyze the type of motivation, the study using categorize the types of motivation based Gardner's theory, that is instrumental motivation and integrative motivation. The study found most of the types of motivation that students have are instrumental motivation. Most students are instrumentally motivated for future interests such as getting a better job, continuing education, and to achieve future success. And many students want better jobs and higher position in big companies. Then they realize that speaking English helps to them to communicate with the company's employers and clients. And then the participant also thinks that they learn English because to achieve success in the future. Then many students experience difficulties in pronunciation and grammar, which can affect their motivation in speaking English. This shows that instrumental motivation and integrative motivation are involved in motivating students in the English-speaking class during the COVID-19 pandemic. Furthermore, the students are motivated more instrumentally than integratively. The study has limitation because the participant consists of only from 12 grade students at a high school in Bekasi, Indonesia. Therefore, the findings in this study cannot be generalized. I think that's all from me. Thanks for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.